Hey, everybody. Welcome again to another episode of AEZ Canada, episode 21. And today we're going to be discussing the last pay-per-view that just happened, World's End, in the world of AEW. So today we've got a great show, lot to talk about, and we've got the four of us to do that. So we'll start with Adam. How you doing, sir? And Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Matt. Yes, happy to be here. Good to see you again, Siren. And Steve, it's nice to meet you for the very first time.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. Good to be here.
Yeah, so Steve is our latest addition. This is just a first time appearing on the show. So welcome, Steve. And you mentioned you've got the, perspective of the Calgary.
I might have a little bit of the Calgary perspective, and yeah.
Very cool. Well, welcome. And again, Siren, always a pleasure. And great. All right. So, and it was a pretty packed card. So, we can just dive right into it. So I'll go with Adam first. Just what was your general opinion overall with the show?
Well, I mean, it was a good show. It had its moments. There was a lot of good matches on there. I think a lot of them did push a little bit of storyline wise. The overall ending was kind of disappointing, but I kind of see where they're going with it. I had mentioned on the live reaction when they were doing the live reaction, Siren was there actually, that a lot of people were upset about it. But at the same time, I said, you just got to trust the process of creative and see where they go from there.
Great. And Siren, what did you think of the overall from the pay-per-view? Your thoughts on overall?
I absolutely loved it. I had a really great time. Although, I mean, as a massive MJF fan, I was definitely left. I'm pretty sure, like, my whole last little bit of the pay-per-view was just me going, and like I couldn't even do anything. Although I did have some massive pops where I actually like, wow. So it was super awesome, and I'm excited to talk about it.
Cool. And Steve, what did you think?
Yeah, I think I was kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out. I didn't think it was a bad show, but I just had a little bit of a hard time committing to the first half, whereas the second half, I was really into it, and I was just waiting to see what would happen next.
Yeah, I kind of share your sentiment there. There was some really good matches that made sense, and it was more like bringing storylines to either kind of the middle point or the ending of the story. But I know they're entertainment. I kind of thought maybe your thoughts, and we'll get to it. But a couple of the 4-man tag matches, I guess we kind of felt a bit kind of thrown in, but I know why they did it. But I know your point. To your point, yeah, I definitely was way more glued to the screen the second half than I did the first. But even it was on pay-per-view, so even being glued to half of it was still almost 2 hours anyway. So
exactly, yeah,
it's a pretty long show. So all right, well, why don't we just dive right into it? So Adam, what match? What did we have first to start off with?
Well, we're not going to do much of the 0 hour. Except for one match that kind of pertained to the main card, and that's going to be the 20-man battle royal for AEW TNT Championship match, which was won by Killswitch when him, Trent, and Danhausen were the last three. Trent and Danhausen were double teaming Luchasaurus, and at one point, Trent threw Danhausen over the rope, betraying him, and then it was down to Trent and Killswitch ended up eliminating Trent, earning an AEW TNT Championship match anytime, anywhere.
Wow. All right. And obviously we'll see how that plays out later in the show. I guess, and then from there, your thoughts? Is anyone your thoughts on the Battle Royal at all? Siren?
I was like, nobody's going to talk about the crazy turn, huh? About the Trent turn on Danhausen, huh? Like, I mean, am I the only one that really cares about that? Probably. Okay, I was like, because I love that Danhausen. All right. Yes. Oh, yes. I mean, it's kind of mixed with CM Junk, but I still love you. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I'm curious how that's going to kind of play out, because not just with like, him and the best friends and everything, but like Hook and Danhausen have kind of been buddies, and Hook is associated with the best friend. So like, that's a lot of story ripples that could happen from that little thing. And I'm really excited to see Danhausen wrestle more. So I hope that happens.
Very cool. Steve, any thoughts? Did you catch any of the 0 hour?
No, I didn't really catch any of it, to be honest with you. I wish that I did, just so that it would make a little more sense to me later on in the show. Obviously, I caught up, but yeah, no, unfortunately, I wasn't able to catch that little bit there.
Oh, I mean, yeah, it was hard to commit. It was already a long enough show, but yeah, I mean, I didn't actually catch a 0 hour myself, but yeah, to your point, they're talking about best friends and Danhausen. I think it's time something need to change there. I've actually lost really all interest in those guys, and I don't get to see them. I'm really committed to Dynamite and more Collision, so I just almost forgot about them. So if there's something that could change with those guys, get them change the spotlight a little bit, maybe change that dynamic, then I think that might be a welcome change. So we'll see where that goes. But what do we have to actually start the main pay-per-view? Adam?
The main pay-per-view started with the Blackpool Combat Club members of Claudio Castagnoli and Bryan Danielson, Mark Briscoe and Daniel Garcia, going against the team of Brody King, Jay White, Jay Lethal, and Roosh, all the participants in the Continental Classic tournament. Were thrown together in an 8-man tag. It ended up with Claudio and Danielson, Mark Briscoe, and Daniel Garcia ending up beating King, Lethal, White, and Roosh when I believe Garcia rolled him up for the win. So,
and what do you think of it? Did you have any thoughts on that one, Adam?
I enjoyed it. I'm glad that they were. It felt kind of thrown together, but I'm glad they involved those guys on the show because they did put on solid matches during the tournament. So it was nice to start off the pay-per-view with, hey, I don't know if you remember these 8 guys that are in this match, but they put on classics and singles bouts during the Continental Classic. So we're just going to give you guys a tag team match of it. But I think they all showed, they meshed really well together. And I feel like there's going to be storylines coming out of that entire group right there.
Siren, what did you think of that match?
I liked it. I thought, as Adam said, it was fantastic showings from absolutely everybody. There's some really fun spots. But I'm really excited to see more out of Garcia, and I really feel like they're pushing him a little bit more. I thought it was really weird to see Briscoe and Danielson on the same team after the whole washa. But, I mean, it was good, though. It was good. I liked it.
Hey, Steve?
Yeah, no, my sentiment is more or less the same as everybody's. It was kind of thrown together and almost nonsensical to me in terms of why are we doing this outside of, hey, we know that these people are involved in this tournament and that's enough reason for us. For me, I'm more interested in the payoff and wanting to see what's going to happen next, especially for people like Briscoe or Lethal that were in the match that unfortunately didn't really get a lot out of this tournament. At least I didn't think so. So I hope that this gives us something new, even if it's not them together and it's off doing, some wonderful matches with somebody else within that match. That would be good for me. But unless there's like a payoff, I almost feel like they got a good match, but it was almost, to me, a waste of time if there is no payoff involved in this.
Yeah, no, I thought it was, in a way, it made sense in terms of giving like a curtain call, the finale. All these guys had all been working together in this crazy tournament, which I thought everyone did a great job, and I actually really liked the tournament. It's probably one of the best tournaments I think I've ever seen. Yes. Going to distance, almost going to 20 minutes, really letting guys showcase themselves. And it just looked out there like they must have had a ton of fun working, and then putting together this match after so many matches together. They've all worked with each other really closely lately. Which is awesome. And I can only imagine if you just ask like Garcia, what did he get out of it? He probably was like, oh my God, this is the best thing I've ever been a part of. I don't care if I didn't win any matches. The fact that I was in this group and being able to sit in the spotlight and having these killer matches with all these guys, basically it's like almost getting that handshake of, okay, you're worth it. Like you're good enough to be with our group, which I think is a massive thing to say for someone like a Garcia. Sure. Because it's a bit of that passing the torch, right? Or, hey, you know what? You're a great professional wrestler. We are great professional wrestlers, and you're considered in our level or getting to our level or the future. So I do like that aspect, and I appreciate that aspect. So Overall, I thought it was entertaining. How can you not? I mean, even if it was just spot after spot after spot, they're all great spots, right? Everyone's got a great spot. So I thought it was a good match. But saying that, we'll head on to the next one. What do you have next there, Adam?
Well, I actually, before I moved on, wanted to agree with you on the Daniel Garcia, because in the post pay-per-view scrum, he was on the stand and they talked about it, and he said he was very thrilled to be a part of a tournament like that to showcase what he can do in the ring as a professional wrestler. So I feel that sentiment exactly with you, Maddie. So, but our next match will be the not much of a grudge match, but the match featuring Miro and Andrade El Idolo. A lot of rumors surrounding this match, as rumors going around that Andrade may be heading back to WWE. But it ended very screwy-like, as you like to say in the business, as CJ Perry was in the corner and ended up helping Miro beat Andrade, even though she was in Andrade services, helped cheat to help Miro win against Andrade El Idolo.
So what did you think of overall? What are your thoughts on that?
You know what? If it truly was the send-off for Andrade and he's going back to WWE, I think he put on a hell of a match with Miro. Those two guys can definitely work in the ring. I'm very excited to see where they go with Miro. I really want to see him kind of clean up and bring back that Redeemer character. I thoroughly enjoyed that character of his, that Redeemer. It seems like there's mixture of it in there in his character right now, but it's not fully potential right now with that Redeemer. But I feel like going forward on Collision, which I feel that may be the show he's going to be primarily featured on, I feel like that's a chance to show Miro getting this Redeemer character to 100%, and actually CJ Perry, his real life wife, actually being at his side to help him fulfill that.
Gotcha. Siren, your thoughts?
I totally agree. I think it was awesome. Andrade always looks phenomenal. I'm pretty sure, though, he did actually confirm today, posted that he is gone. So I'm pretty sure it is bye-bye Andrade, which is unfortunate. And then I'm really happy to actually, as you mentioned, Adam, see his Redeemer character hopefully clean up a little bit, because as I'd mentioned before in prior podcasts, I feel a little lost with it. And I feel like it has been a little like, I'm over here and then I'm over there. I am, gosh, I don't know. So I'm hoping that having it all is just all going to go really great. But yeah, it was good. It's great. I'm excited for CJ Perry.
Okay. Steve?
Yeah. Again, I think pretty much the same as everyone else here. Like, I think that there has been a lack of commitment to Miro for quite some time. So seeing where this kind of takes him moving forward, I'm really excited to see what happens, because the Redeemer, that character is incredible and lots can be done with that. So it's just, it's really about, hey, can we use this guy? Can we pull the trigger? Like, let's treat this guy like he's special and do something special with him. And yeah, having his wife there with him and having them back together, now that that unity is actually there, there's no better reason than that to really get on that and do it. And as far as Andrade goes, I hope that the pastures are green on the other side, because, he had some fun while he was over in AEW, I think.
Great. Yeah, thanks, Steve. Actually, I was really disappointed to hear those rumors. I just thought that Andrade was kind of getting back into, he's like injuries, and it's always a start, stop. And I thought, the tournament was great. I thought like getting that, almost playing a bit of that heel / baby face, that Ric Flair. I was starting to see some of that, the influence of the Ric Flair. Obviously he's doing the figure 4, and then he's obviously doing the figure 8, from his wife. But in terms of almost being a baby face and still doing poke in the eyes and still doing, the legal hooks, so I'm disappointed. Actually, I thought he was going to be on a good run. Miro, I'm glad to see if they do push Miro. And I thought this match was entertaining. I do find it makes sense for CJ to be with Miro. I don't know what you guys, I really liked do you remember when Miro would incorporate almost a bit of comedic stuff. Like it's undertone, like he would just do the way he'd just say things. I kind of like that, even when it was like Rusev Day, and like he does have a sense of humor. I actually like sometimes when that comes out, because he actually can be funny. I don't know, that's not really going to be, or if he says funny things seriously, that's what I really like when he says some funny things as Redeemer. So yeah, I really hope they do something with him now, and I agree. I think he should be pushed up and start challenging for some championships like they did originally when he was TNT champion, when he was destroying everybody.
Well, he could always go back to being the best man and pair him up with Kip again, I suppose.
Yeah, I thought there's some pretty good stuff there. But yeah, let's hopefully see that they do a run in some. They need to get on consistency again, right? And stick with the character. Let him go. Get him some weeks, unless of course he's hurt and they don't have a choice. But let that grow now. So Adam, what do we have next after that one?
Next was actually a very exciting match for me. It is our women's champion, Timeless Toni Storm, versus Rio, the very first women's champion AEW. They actually were given some really good time on screen. At one point, Butler Luther was actually driven away from the ring by the referee, thrown out. And yet Toni Storm somehow found a way to win. And Maria May making her debut soon on Dynamite, which I believe was this week, actually. Yeah, it was this week she made her debut. Just showering her with roses. So Timeless Toni Storm, and they were actually really given good time in this match.
Siren, what do you think?
There was a really awesome spot where Luther was outside the ring and Riho like went to like jump and I believe it was a crossbody, and he caught her and gave her to Toni Storm to like do this, and I was like so great. So that was my favorite spot about that whole match. It was great. But I actually am really excited about the whole Mariah May thing. I think it's gonna be really fun. The match overall was really good though, and I kind of figured that Storm would keep it. So
cool. Steve, thoughts?
Yeah, match was good. I can't say that I loved it, but I love Toni Storm in general. I think what she's done with this Timeless gimmick is incredible. I have heard some noise just amongst my own peers where they're like, this whole Timeless thing, it doesn't really work for me, but I think that it's really brought a character out that I don't know, it gets my attention when it's on the screen. So I'm happy that she's champion, and I think it was good.
Cool. No, I mean, I do, and that was my thought originally. I didn't really like the character, but what I do appreciate is the commitment to the character and the growth of the character. And you can see that, Tony Khan is behind it. So you can see when someone is willing to give 110%, and when Tony Khan is behind it, what you could really do and create. So I think this is really an example of something that was like started from scratch, and they both were dedicated to it. And I love Luther. I think because I always felt bad for him. Why is he in the show? And he was just probably kicking around. Now, if he can, I think as I get older, the guys are like, I can just be on stage and play almost like act and not have to put my body through that. Absolutely, I'll do that. I don't care if I'm wrestling or not. The fact that I'm in still one of the big, the main matches around the ring and helping out, sure, that's earning a paycheck. So I do like that they've incorporated him, and I do hope if they're going to do this, and I think the Timeless character really has to work on her keeping the belt for months. Having that Ric Flair run, there's almost that Ric Flairish where like she gets beat up and then at the end manages to get the win of somehow get screwed and still keeps the belt. So I think if they keep on and have it like almost like a 6-month run, I think that would really build up this character. And when she loses it, it'll be a worthwhile. Like it's going to be a good handoff. So I'm excited to see. Again, I'm starting to come around to it. I am appreciating the dedication to it, if anything, at this one.
Yeah, no, and I agree with the whole Timeless Toni Storm just running with this character. I mean, at the media scrum, she even came out in like the full red hat and the fur jacket, and she made let Tony Khan wear her hat and sunglasses, and it was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. I was like, it is so great. Yeah, it was great because it was like you said, Matt, Tony Khan is 100% behind it, and he loves it. And at one point, I think she called out Wendy Richter, who hasn't wrestled since 1989. But it's one of the best characters, and I honestly am looking forward to seeing where this Maria May goes, because it's just the obsessed fan angle. But I'd like to see where it goes with that as well.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of Mickey James, Trish Stratus type deal, but
yeah, the jealousy comes through, right? And that will actually if that happens, that'll solidify her as a real baby face as well, because again, she's so over that kind of turn, and if that happens, that'll make her a real baby face. That'd be great. So we have after that match, Jamie, what do you have next?
Well, next we have our favorite up and coming wrestler. Well, not up and coming, but basically had so much greatness in 2023, and that's Swerve Strickland wrestling the Natural Dustin Rhodes. This match was actually originally supposed to be Swerve versus Keith. It was supposed to be Keith Lee and them. Keith Lee had a medical issue earlier on in the day, was not cleared. Dustin Rhodes was substituted in, but there's still a story there, as you know. Dustin and Keith were a team for a while, and they were trying to feud with Swerve and Mogul Embassy. So the match went on pretty well. At one point, Swerve did the brick moment again on Dustin. I believe it was on his leg, and kind of just signaling that his feud with Keith was almost done. However, at the scrum, Swerve Strickland did end up winning this match, but at the media scrum, Swerve was asked about his feud with Keith Lee, and he said he's going to have to come find me because I wait for nobody.
Right. So what do you think of this one overall?
I enjoyed it. I enjoy watching Swerve. You know, I really wish it was against Keith Lee, because we probably would have gotten a longer match and a bigger banger of a match. And that's nothing downplaying on Dustin Rhodes. The man can still go for his age, and he's still great in the ring. He still's got great spots. I just feel like this was kind of a throwaway match for Swerve, just to get him one more victory going into 2024, because I do believe there's more greatness to Swerve coming in 2024, whether it be a singles title or maybe even the world title. I just see big things for Swerve, and I think this match was kind of just like his, warm up to the new year.
Yeah, I'd agree with you there, Adam. Siren, what'd you think?
I really love Dustin Rhodes, like Be Still My Beating Heart. Like, but yeah, I mean, the break at the beginning, it actually looked really rough. That was a really rough spot for me to watch. And for the rest of the match, I was like, so it's hard. There was a really great crossroads though that I enjoyed, so that looked really great. Swerve is just absolutely phenomenal, and I am excited to see him on the up and up. I have mentioned before, but this was also before the whole MJF leaving, that I didn't think that Swerve was ready, or not leaving, but not being the champion anymore. I didn't think that he was ready for the world championship and would go more lean towards the international. But I mean, my world got turned upside down, so I don't even know. Give the man some gold.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's big things for him in 2024. Steve, thoughts?
Well, I think my sentiment around Dustin is he should never quit. He's so good, and he's consistent. Like, you don't see a match, never looks like he's slowing down. You could look at wrestlers younger than him, older than him, and they don't seem to be able to put a match together quite the way that Dustin can, right? The Natural makes all the sense in the world why you would call him that. And I didn't feel like it was a throwaway match. I felt like this was something that I was actually really excited to see, because it did come out of nowhere. And I've already kind of seen the Keith Lee matches, and I wasn't really interested in hearing any more about that at this rate. I didn't think that Dustin was going to walk away with a win, but I thought that a story was really well told. And I feel like if Dustin wanted to, and he felt like he was up to it, and the company was on board with it, that these guys could tell a story for a little bit before Swerve moves on to bigger, better things.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. With what you said there. I think Dustin's Great, and that's a testament to his keeping himself in shape, because you can't. I mean, you look at sometimes some of these guys. You take a look at their body, you can see, okay, like they got the pot belly and their arms are smaller, but he's consistent. Like you said, even his appearance is consistent. The way he moves is consistent. But again, so that's him. He must train and keep himself in shape, because you can't be in your 50s and be able to jump in last minute to do a match and pull it off without really pulling something. So kudos to him for doing that. This, like you said, it's going to be. I thought they were just going to do a spot where, he hurts Destiny outside, and it's like, oh, and then they said, I'm not sure if we're going to have a match here. I actually thought that was going to be it, and it was just enough that they still wanted to show and get spotlight that Swerve is still crazy, and he'll do anything, and so it's still showing that part of his character. So I love the fact that match did continue and as a decent match, and these guys have wrestled a few times before and had great matches. So I still think they pulled it off. And you're right. You know what? I'm not a Keith Lee's good. He's got some good spots, but like, did I really miss Keith Lee? I don't know, So, but yeah, I thought they recovered from something like this, because I'm sure it was like a last minute and like you're scrambling to do something. So, kind of kudos for them to be able to pull something off that was still part of the storytelling and that made sense. So I think that went over pretty well. And Dustin got another pay-per-view under his belt.
Yeah.
How about that? That's great. All right. So as we continue, what do we have next, Adam?
Our next match was another 8-man tag match featuring the Les Sex Gods, Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara teaming with Sting and Darby Allin against the team of the tag team champs Ricky Starks, Big Bill, and Kanosuke. I keep mispronouncing his name. Takeshita and Hobbs, Powerhouse Hobbs. This was how do I put this? Very clunky match. It feels like everything was out of sorts a little bit with this match. There was a lot of heat from the crowd towards Chris Jericho, and I'll get in that with my review of the match here in a second. But the match did end with both Jericho and Sting putting both guys in submissions, with Stark saving it, but then ending up having, I believe, Sammy Guevara pinning Ricky Starks for the win.
Mm-hmm. What'd you think overall?
So my take on it is it was a big old cluster. It seems like a lot of things were out of sort. It didn't seem like everyone was on the same page. On top of that, you had a lot of chants from the crowd towards Chris Jericho. As many people don't know, I love Chris Jericho, but there are rumors going around. There are stories going around that Chris Jericho has been accused of SA, if anybody knows those abbreviations. Well, actually more SH, sexual harassment. I'll just say it out. But yeah, so but I'm still a big fan of Chris Jericho. I've loved the guy since his early days of ECW and New Japan. But overall, I don't think the crowd was also in it other than for Sting, since Sting is on his way out of professional wrestling. So this was kind of another big send-off for him for 2023 before he gears up for his final match at Revolution 2024 against who? I don't know. Also, I don't know where they go with the Don Callis family. I feel like Don Callis's family, they've been taking losses here and there randomly. And I don't know how you build back up from that. I hope they do, because Don Callis, to me, is such a great voice and a great manager of a team. I don't know why he is, but there's something about him that I just like as a heel manager and just heel on the mic. So I'm really excited to see if they can rebuild Don Callis and the family.
Great. Thanks, Adam. Siren, what do you think?
I really liked it. I know that it was a little bit of a mess, but the reason I liked it is because they did give it to Sammy, like the pin, and I do feel like that hopefully will bring Sammy back in after, he was out on paternity for a little bit and whatnot, and he was getting a lot of chance, so like hopefully they bring him back in as babyface. It seems that way, obviously, with the pin against Ricky Starks, which was really cool. I don't know what they're gonna do with the Don Callis family, because Kenny is out for an indeterminate period of time. The Bucks are not really doing a whole heck of a lot with that kind of stuff either. We Chris Jericho, I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what they're gonna do with the Don Callis family, and I'm not a big fan of Hobbs anyway. So But you need a better story. That's all I think. But yeah, other than that, it was a really I'm just excited for the story between Starks and yeah. You know.
Yeah, got Steve. Your thoughts? What do you think?
Well, I'm of the opinion that you listen to the fans, and maybe you call an audible in the ring and maybe give it to someone else. Kind of sounded to me like, I guess it kind of sounded to me like it was time to give the other guys a win here, right? I think with the Callis family, and I think with the build that you're trying to give to Bill and Starks, I think why does Sting have to win every match? That's pretty predictable, right? And if the heat's already on Jericho in the room, then you kind of have like the perfect fall guy for a match of this type, right? And then you can kind of see where you want to go with it, and you're kind of keeping everything intact with Callis, and you're keeping things going with Big Bill and Starks, and I think that is a little bit more important than giving it to who you want the baby faces to be in this match. So for me, I didn't have a problem with the match. I think I noticed that people were kind of getting a little lost, in some of the moments there. And I think, again, maybe just listen to your fans a little bit and call an audible. I don't think it's going to hurt you to do it.
Great. Yeah. Thanks, Steve. I mean, I love Jericho. I've always been a Jericho fan. I know, again, when things I think people get accused of things, they automatically think that person has done it for sure, and it must be extreme. I just wish that you'd kind of a little more clarity, right? I know people want to do it. Again, if it happened, it didn't happen. Some people tell stories. If it happened, I get it. But at least wait to, maybe get a little more details before you start crucifying someone, especially someone like him who's done so much for the sport and for AEW. So people to turn so quickly, that I also find irritating, kind of lets you know some of the details around it. I mean, I do like the sex gods, the sex gods. I mean, I do find I'm glad, because I didn't really like the angle of Guevara with the Don Callis family, and he just felt lost. I think he does fit better, and to me, it still made sense that he went back with Jericho, because they've always kind of been together, and I really like them as a tag team personally. So I'm fine with that aspect. I think it's time to separate. I think the Don Callis family, I mean, there's lots of options. I mean, we could turn. I mean, the way he's going to get his group and his men up to that status again is they have to maybe do an angle with maybe the BCC. Maybe there's an angle, if they're going to go after and be more involved in the trios championships. Why don't they go after Daddy Ass or in the Acclaimed, right? Like, start switching things up a bit, because there's some really guys that can work really well together. So I think it's time to look elsewhere instead of. I'm kind of tired of Jericho and the Don Callis. I'm done with Kenny. Unless Kenny's with the Don Callis family, which I love that Kenny character, then I'm kind of ready for to have things split there. But overall, I mean, it was a fun match. But I don't know. It didn't really do much for me overall, as opposed to just kind of throwing some big names together for an entertaining match for again, like you said, for Sting's send off. So. But with that, we will head to the next match, which is...
the next match is another women's title match for the TBS title. Our very, very young champion in AEW, the youngest champion in AEW, Miss Julia Hart, representing the House of Black, versus Abaddon, the Living Dead Girl, in a house rules match. And Abaddon had made the stipulation of biting is legal in the match. There were moments of the biting. There was one moment I thought that was really cool, where they were both across the ring from each other and just crawling on hands and knees, just eyeing each other. I thought that was really cool. Of course, during the match, Julia Hart's newfound friend, Sky Blue, appeared, tried to intervene in the match, which she successfully did, and tried to help her with Abaddon. And in the end, Julia Hart retains the TBS title with a moonsault victory over Abaddon.
So what did you think overall?
I thought it was good. I thought it was a really good match. I think they had really good chemistry in the match. I really think that this new turn with Sky Blue joining Julia Hart adds a little more dynamic to Julia Hart's character, as It feels like she's recruiting her own people into her own House of Black, kind of. I did enjoy it. There was a moment though I kind of questioned, and that was the end where she hit the moonsault. It didn't really look that pretty. The knees kind of was like, they did. She didn't really land it a whole. It feels like she was kind of like bracing herself, instead of fully going full. But that's something that she's young, something she can clean up, everything like that. I mean, let's be honest. Jade wasn't that great she had moments in the ring that were kind of cringe, So, but Julia Hart has that time as TBS champion that she can improve match to match. I'm very excited to see where they go with Julia Hart and who her next challenger be. It seems like with the tag match she had with Sky against Abaddon and Thunder Rosa, that maybe Thunder Rosa might be in line to challenge her for the next match for the TBS title. So I'm just very excited to see where they go with her because I'm a huge Julia Hart fan. I think she's doing so wonderful. And I'm a big House of Black fan, so that's hearsay. So
I agreed. Siren, I was going to ask you, how do you like this storyline as a championship storyline?
For the lady champion, I mean, well, I mean, I was just super excited to have Abaddon back, but I do feel like the storyline was a little bit muddled. It did have a bit more backing than we've seen. It had a little bit more lead up build than we've seen in a couple more matches, but I don't think that it actually furthered the title any, but it was really nice to see Abaddon in a title picture. That made me happy. I love Abaddon. I follow her on Instagram like religiously, but yeah, as a title match, I don't know. I don't think it did anything for the title itself to push the title further, but seeing Abaddon there was really cool. And I think that she's always kind of belonged in that upper kind of, and I don't know how many people out there will agree with me, but I love her and I think that she belongs there. So, and I agree with the moonsault. It was rough. And she actually kind of almost landed like a cat, like with her feet on her toes. You're like, okay. I mean, that was safe and everything, but like.
Yeah, no, I agree with you guys on that one. Steve,
your thoughts on that? It did look like Hart maybe went a little too far out, and she was trying to just kind of keep herself in, and that's what that was maybe about. I'm not sure, but that's what it kind of looked like to me. Match was fine. I don't have any complaints about it whatsoever. But it is. I guess it might be a little bit disappointing in terms of I don't like a match to be predictable, and I know that Julia, she's a new champ and all, but I don't know, like the excitement of seeing like Abaddon get this opportunity for a belt, I kind of really wanted to believe that like there was, maybe some hope for her to become a champion after the time that she has put into this company. So no complaints. I just I would have liked to see somebody else win. Maybe, I don't know.
No, I know. I agree with you. Your point, and I think AEW is also trying to was trying to give that impression because you see with Abaddon, people are like Abaddon. I haven't really seen her, but they've obviously, you can see they always put up her 43-1 or whatever her record is because they want to make sure, like, hey, no, she's up there. Give her a chance. Maybe that's to your point of do I believe it? I think they're trying to give you reasons to believe. And I think it's great that they're utilizing, they've had some of these, the women who have either left the company or been hurt. So I think that these three women in this storyline have picked it up, I think, better than there's better options than what I've seen. So I don't mind the story. I like that they're letting Abaddon utilizing someone like that because there's no one else in the company like that right now. Or even in WWE, there's no one that has that type of persona. So go with it, right? And she can perform. She's an entertainer. So sure, and feed off. And I think you'll see where they go with Abaddon to, you guys were saying about, you mentioned about the crowd, right? And they're listening because I think you can see there's a kind of a big push for Abaddon. People want to see how far she can go and they like the character. So, you never know. So hopefully I think with 2024, I really hope they push her and just don't, push her back down when some of the other talent comes back or when they sign some of these new girls that I keep on hearing that are supposed to be on their way, right? That they don't just, put her down the ranks. but it's nice. You can so we'll see what happens with that one. But overall, I thought the match was pretty entertaining. That the ending, yeah, you said you would have hoped for a little bit harder hitting, a little more convincing moonsault to win the match. But it is what it is. But I thought it was a decent match overall. And from there we go to. What do you say?
We go to probably the match that everybody was looking forward to on this card because it's a grudge match between Adam Copeland and Christian Cage. No disqualification match for the AEW TNT title. Obviously the patriarch Christian Cage was accompanied by both the prodigy Nick Wayne and his mother Shayna to the ring. This was a hard-hitting match. There's moments they got into the crowd right off the bat while Christian was making his entrance. Edge Adam Copeland. So I got to stop saying Edge. He's not in WWE anymore. Okay. Adam Copeland ran up the ramp and jumped Christian and start the fight right away. There were some good moments. There were some hardcore moments. Obviously with their history of TLC matches, ladders, tables, and chairs were brought into the match as well. There was a spotty moment where the table was lit on fire by Copeland and he tried to powerbomb Nick Wayne through it and he actually overshot it. So I thought that was a little spotty. But it was still a fun match to see these guys take their grudge match, their grudge and their hatred for each other, trying to, one up each other in the match. And it ended up with Adam Copeland actually winning the TNT title. However, if you don't mind me jumping ahead, because as soon as after Adam Copeland won the match, Killswitch came out with the contract, attacked Adam Copeland, was about to until Christian convinced him to give him the contract, in which case Killswitch reluctantly did, leading Christian to sign the contract and regain the title within 11 seconds. Thus, Christian Cage still leaves the pay-per-view as TNT champion.
Wow. So what did you think overall, though?
I thought it was great storytelling. Obviously, these guys both have history with each other, growing up together and doing wrestling together. And they're both from Canada, and I love how they put that out there. And but honestly, this was such a good match. It brought back so much nostalgia for me for these two, and just the ending to see Copeland win it, which I think it's great because I don't think he wanted to. He just wanted to have the match with Christian and put on a banger. I don't think his intent was ever to come to AEW and win a singles title. But seeing him win it and then just immediately 11 seconds, after the match losing in 11 seconds, kind of reminiscent of how the first Money in the Bank happened with Copeland. When he won the Money in the Bank, he immediately cashed in on John Cena to win his first world title. So it's kind of reminiscent of, hey, what goes around comes around, and we got you. So you just won a title. Guess what? We're taking it back. But I thought it was great. I think there's more story to tell. I don't think this feud is done. I think they'll have one more match, and after that match, we might see one more run as a tag team.
Yeah, no, I agree with all your points there, Adam. Siren, your thoughts on that?
I was super, super, super miffed. But I'm a giant mark, and I'm totally okay admitting that. Like, I can watch something and just get totally lost in it. So definitely, if you haven't seen it yet, you should go back and watch our live reaction to the World's End pay-per-view. Because during this match, once they were starting to light the table on fire, like, I was like shouting. I was shouting at them. Like, do you not remember when Cody did this and him and Brandy did this and he had like 3rd-degree burns with table gunk stuck to his back for months? Like, do you not remember? But yeah, no, I mean, that spot was very iffy for me. And then I was like so of the belief that it would be so awesome to have like Killswitch, Luchasaurus, whatever, come out there and just like, this would be his moment, to like shut that Christian Cage down and just be all like, and it didn't go down that way. So I was very disappointed. I was sad inside, but like, I loved it all in all. It was absolutely wonderful. Oh, and I think it was a missed moment to debut Beth. I thought that would have been really freaking awesome. I thought that would have been like, I was on my seat, like, where is she? When's it going to happen? There's Mother Wayne. I see you. Like, and then she didn't show up. So.
All right. Steve, what do you think?
I thought it was phenomenal. I thought it was the match of the night. In fact, I think that they stole the show, and I mean, that's just personal preference on my part. And I love the fact that you had, this idea that maybe something was going to happen and then it didn't, with Luchasaurus there. What do we call him now? Kill Switch.
Mm-hmm.
And I have such a hard time getting on board with that name, um, but I really dig it because I think that these guys, they're not done their story and they shouldn't be done their story. I think they have a lot more to give, and we want more of that. I think most of us would anyway. So I think it was good all around.
Yeah, no, I agree. I love this match. You could tell that this was a match that these guys have been talking about wanting to do probably for years and years and years, and they finally did it. And what I like is they're actually doing it as new characters that they never faced before, never were with each other. I mean, I love the Christian character. I think this is the best character he's ever been. I just love his mic work. I love his character. I love his little family he's got. I love everything about it. And I actually loved Edge. I was getting really kind of tired of the old Edge, of the WWE Edge. So I really liked the way he came out and just like with the block, and he looked great. He's in good shape. Like there's no doubt these guys are in great shape. He really had a mean streak to him, which I really liked. I love Nick Wayne as this character outside of adding that extra element. I do like that. Because I didn't see the battle royal, so I didn't know what the stipulation was from that. So I was like, oh my god, it was amazing. I thought, okay, I could see how Edge won, give him a bit of a run. And then that happened. I was like, wow, that is a twist, which only gets it back to how it makes him diabolical. Like it's, he's like and I love that because it just fuels people's hatred for Christian because he managed to do it again. Yeah. And you can see the way he just able to control, Kill Switch. I mean, the turn is inevitable. And I'm really hoping I think it's really hoping that he ends up with Adam Copeland, and he, Adam takes Luchasaurus back and he goes with him. I hope so, but we're definitely going to see at least one or two, maybe two matches. And I love when they're the champ of TLC and they did it and they were prepared to have it. I love that. Simon, when you mentioned you remembered the Cody and Andrade match with the fire where Cody hurt himself, I was thinking about the match with Edge and Nick Foley when they went through the table and when Edge burned all the hair off his arms. So that's what I was thinking when I was seeing that. Obviously you'd like to see that really work out, but again, you're playing with fire. Right. So
he was wearing the outfit that he was wearing in that match, just so you know. Adam Copeland was wearing the gear that he wore in the Mick Foley match in that match. He really was.
Really?
Little fact.
Interesting. Very cool. I like that fact. But overall, yeah, I agree. I think this is a great match. Great twist ending. It shows it just fuels the storyline. So I think it'll make sense for Beth to come out now. Now that Adam's been screwed twice, I think she's going to come out at the next time to make sure. So we'll see what happens there. But overall, yeah, I agree. Great crowd was really into this one. Loved it. And the crowd was chanting for everything, and they gave everything, including the fire that they were chanting for. So I think I agree. I matched the night for me. So next, what do we have there, Adam?
Well, we got two more matches to go. Our next match was the Continental Final. Classic final between the Eddie Kingston, who was at the time the Ring of Honor World Champion and New Japan Openweight, and Jon Moxley of the Blackpool Combat Club. This match, again, hard-hitting, good spots. There was a point where you thought Eddie was actually hurt because they sold it so well, and Moxley kind of exposed that, kind of trying to beat his head, trying to make it seem like he had a neck or a head injury or anything like that. But it was a good back and forth match between them. Best friends in the industry coming together for this classic final, and ended with Eddie Kingston defeating Jon Moxley finally, as he has never defeated Jon Moxley, just like he's never defeated Bryan Danielson. He has now finally conquered Jon Moxley, and he is the Continental Classic champion for this year, and a very touching moment at the end of him and Moxley hugging. So.
I agree. And so what did you think overall of the match?
I love this. I think the Copeland Christian match was my second. This was my match of the night, just because of the story. And I'm a big fan of the underdog, and that's why I love Eddie Kingston. I'm a big fan of underdogs, and the fact that this guy is just going strong for as long as he's going, and now he's a Triple Crown champion right now. It's something he's always wanted from his heroes from, New Japan and All Japan Pro Wrestling, and it's something that he strived for. And, a lot of people don't give him a chance, but this was something Eddie works for his entire career. I mean, he's not the best in shape guy, and, but he still puts on bangers. And it's just also a testament to Jon Moxley, who I've mentioned in a podcast before that has put the company on his back multiple times just to go out there and put on a banger with one of his best friends in Eddie Kingston. The promo they had on the Dynamite, I believe, before the pay-per-view, he had mentioned that they had both got each other into the business and they've known each other for a long time. So for me to see Eddie Kingston to finally do something and seeing the crowd behind Eddie was so awesome. And I just think they both told a great story, and I'm looking forward to seeing Eddie Kingston, where he goes from here being the Triple Crown. Will he have to defend? And this is the thing, is the Continental Classic title can be defended anywhere. And because now he's in New Japan, Ring of Honor, and in AEW, he can defend it all over the place. So I'm very excited. So this match for me was the match of the night.
Great. No, some great points. Siren, I know you're bursting there. It's
this is absolutely amazing. I have been waiting for this. I have been waiting for this a really long time. And as a recovering addict alcoholic, I am a huge, Jon Moxley is I have a dog named Jon Moxley. He is a huge inspiration to me, and Eddie Kingston and him and his friendship has been something that I hold close. And so on a me level, right? And so watching this, and I predicted this whole thing, from the very beginning, I was like, this is going to be so good, and this is how it's going to end up, and this is who's going to win, and it's going to be great. And it was beautiful. And there was a moment, and I don't know if anybody else saw it, or if anybody else thought of it the way that I did. But when Jon Moxley draws the proverbial line in the sand, I don't feel like it was a line in the sand, like a fight me, but more of a come join me on this side of it. And because Jon Moxley has cleaned up his shit, man, the man has got his stuff on lock, and Eddie Kingston has been doing the same over the last year. You can see it. You can see it in him. He is looking healthier. He is putting his nose to the grindstone, and he's really giving it his all, and I love it. And I'm just so excited that it wound up this way, and I can't wait to see what Eddie Kingston does.
Cool. No, I agree. Steve?
I can't say it any better than that. I agree, actually, wholeheartedly. And I actually kind of forgot when we were talking about Adam Copeland and Christian Cage that this was a match as well, because this match actually really was the number one match of the night. And I'm not trading spots here or anything, but it really was the story that tells. The other one, you have almost like a brotherly rivalry going on, but this is like full circle, family coming together type thing, and that's it almost brings people closer just watching it. I love this match, and I think it told a great story. And outside of stories, just the progression of Eddie Kingston and Moxley together, what they've done over the last couple of years, specifically this last year, it's something worth really talking about. And yeah, it was great.
Yeah, no, I agree with all your guys' points on this one. I thought that it was a good story leading up to it. The being the king of the bums. You get it, and it's for me this tournament, especially with the participants in it. It was almost as a rite of passage, and I felt like this is that rite of passage for Eddie Kingston that he went through, and he actually got to be some of the biggest names in the business and to be where he is. Kudos, to him. Kudos to Tony Khan to giving, letting him get his story fairy tale ending. He feels like he could retire tomorrow and he would be happy with what he's accomplished now, which is nice to see. And the crowd was behind it, like you guys said, and, give it to him, let them be a guy like that. I mean, look at his body, his physique, he doesn't come across as someone that looks, like the typical WWE superstar from, 1990, which that's part of the appeal with him. Right. And he's believable, and, he's a hard hitter, he's a tough guy. So he's injured as hell. You said like he is probably dying. His shoulders, everything. All these guys right now, they're in so much pain, and God love them for getting through this to entertain us, which is great. It's good. I was actually glad that Moxley didn't win it. I feel like he's always at the top. So I'm glad that Eddie Kingston, and he did put his 2 titles on the line. So I kind of had a strong feeling that they'd let him not, because that'd be kind of shitty to the guy gives up both his titles and he loses out of a tournament. So I do like that aspect. So which is good. No, good. We'll see what happens, and I do like the end, and I'm a big proponent of it. I love the handshake at the end. I love when competitors they do that, and if it's somewhat breaking kayfabe, and but it's that. The tapping, and the nod, right? It's nice. It's a nice look. I like that because that shows real competitors. So, anyways, yeah, it's great. Good match, a great tournament. I like the belt. The belt looks pretty good.
Oh, the belt's gorgeous with the crown.
Yeah, I love the fact, Adam. I didn't know that could be. I guess I never heard it or paid attention that it could be defended anywhere, which I think is awesome because that means that's the thing that needs to happen as a Triple Crown champion to be able to move around and make it worth something. So I think that's pretty cool. And so we'll see what happens. For this upcoming year. So great. So and are we coming to our?
Yes, we are coming to the final match of the night. It is the AEW World Heavyweight Championship featuring our scumbag MJF going against, I believe, the King of the Samoans. I don't care what anybody else thinks. So another king or father or head of the table king of the Samoa Joe. And this match was a great match. You had, from the beginning, you had MJF coming out ready to go, and out of nowhere, boom, Adam Cole is back. So I think everybody was excited to see that, especially MJF, his best friend. The summer of Better Than You, Baby was running wild in AEW, and everybody was excited to see it. The match itself was really good. There was a couple of good moments. There was moves that I did not think MJF could hit, and he hit them. So I believe one move, man, I'm trying to remember what it was because there's so much action. I don't know if it was the rolling kind of like the rolling F5. Like F5, like it was like kind of an F5 to it. And I'm like, oh my God, I didn't know we can hit that move. But it was very exciting. There was some shenanigans at the end, of course, Bryce going down, and some shenanigans with MJF trying to get the ring from Adam Cole. In the end, Adam Cole was fumbling, but he found the ring. But as soon as he got it to him, Samoa Joe locked him in the Codeina clutch. And at the moment, it was very weird because MJF's arm went down 3 times, but on the 3rd time, his arm landed on Samoa Joe's leg. And I think Bryce was either stunned that he was passed out or just didn't know what to do because it landed there. But he called the bell anyways and awarded the new AEW World Champion, Samoa Joe.
Siren, what do you think of this one?
It hurts me deeply. Okay, but I understand it. And you have to remember that I mentioned that I'm the biggest mark in the entire universe. Okay, so I knew going into this that the man is hurt. He is actually hurt. And if he does need surgery, that is a lot of, so it's a lot of time, 6 months minimum for, So I got it. And I knew, but the finish to it, to me, was very anticlimactic. They hit a lot of really solid moves. First of all, people lost it when Brock did that to Samoa Joe, but I mean, I get it that he just kind of picked him up and MJF kind of had help, but either way, it was very impressive. But I thought the ending of it was very anticlimactic. I get the throwback to their feud earlier with him and MJF, each gonna put the other one to sleep. I'm gonna knock you out. That was a thing in their feud in the past. I get that. But it was very anticlimactic for me. That muscle buster on the apron, though, that wounded me to watch. That hurt. But overall, very good match. Did not like the ending.
Yeah. What did you, how did you feel about who you saw as, the Devil's Group or whatever what are they called? I know there's a devil, but what do they actually refer to?
Probably the devil and his minions. I don't know.
I call them the Gimps.
Kingdom.
So, how did you guys feel about who you saw at the end? Were you guys surprised it was Adam Cole, or were you surprised with who else was with him?
Story-wise, it makes sense. Story-wise, to me, it makes perfect sense because there's rumors about who it would be. Some people said Jungle Boy. That makes zero sense for him to be the devil. There's no story to it. And of course, obviously, you kind of sense that the Kingdom and Roderick Strong were kind of in on it, but you had so many other, people that you could have had. A lot of people were saying it was FTR. A lot of people were saying it was another tag team. But to me, the biggest one I thought that was kind of a disappointment, not only just Adam Cole being the devil, but Wardlow. I get it. Wardlow has a history of with MJF, but at the same time, Wardlow needs to be on his own. He does not need to be part of these factions. He just needs to be this dominating heel monster that just comes in, destroys people, and leaves. I mean, that's what he's got to do, and he needs someone to be a voice, And I see maybe why they, paired him off with the Kingdom, Roderick, and Cole. But because Cole can run the mic, and I'll be totally honest, Roderick actually is pretty good on the microphone. I'm not going to lie. He is great on the microphone recently. But I honestly think Wardlow needs to be a singles monster heel with a voice, someone to be his voice, someone like a Paul Heyman or, someone like a Paul Heyman, not Paul Heyman, but in that aspect of a voice, like a Bobby the Brain Heenan, someone to be the voice. To me, it was story-wise, it made sense. I know it pissed off a lot of people. It didn't piss me off. It was more so the disappointing end of the match and not the reveal itself. The reveal itself made sense. And again, like Siren said, this may be story-wise where they attack MJF and he takes time off and he's going to come back the biggest babyface in professional wrestling.
The build is gonna be beautiful.
Yeah,
I mean, we all saw it with the mask and the heat seeker. Like they've been leading to Adam Cole. That was very predictable, but it didn't matter. It didn't matter after that ending. After the bell rang, it didn't matter. It didn't matter who was under the mask, in my opinion. At that point, I was just so like when they did the reveal, I literally was still just so flabbergasted from the end of the match that I was like, yeah, okay, so it's Adam Cole. We all knew that. I don't know. I feel like what if, he would have went to go for the ring and like Adam Cole and just handed him the mask and just smiled. And then Samoa Joe came up behind him and was like, okay, now you go to sleep. Like that would have been way cooler. That would have been a way better reveal. That would have been a way better ending to the match instead of just, okay, now you're asleep and that's the bell and oh, look, Adam Cole. I don't know. Sorry, I'm going to rant about that.
Yeah, no. You have a good point. Yeah, that angle, that could have been worked because that would still have been a surprise. But yeah, you're right. I thought the match overall was really good. I mean, I do like MJF doesn't have a bad match, and I don't think Samoa Joe has a bad match. And on the last show that I was on, I mean, I was saying like I would be totally cool with Samoa Joe having a championship run. I think he'd be a good champion. Which is great. So I am happy to see that. And I always thought along, and I mentioned it on the show, that I thought he was either going to be Roderick or I thought it was going to be Adam Cole. That'd be the devil. So because to your point, Adam, it does make sense. I actually, I'll have to, I somewhat disagree with you on saying that Wardlow needs to be by himself because I think Wardlow lost a lot of steam when he went on his own, where when he was with MJF and that crew before, that's where he gained a lot of momentum. And then when he went on his own, people were really behind him, and then he kind of just fizzled out. So I do like that he's back with the crew. I like him with the crew. I like him. He's just the quiet big man that does damage, and being surrounded by good voices and good promo guys. And the fact that because I always thought because I was seeing they kept on leading up that Wardlow was gunning for MJF. But then you thought, well, he's not even in a storyline with them. So I was starting to wonder, okay, what are they doing? Because they're talking about these guys against MJF, and then now MJF is now talking against Swerve, and then you got Wardlow that's gunning for him. So when they brought him as part of the crew, I was like, okay, that makes sense because they were kind of hinting that he was going after him, and then he's part of it. So I just had to kind of rush through the I just thought I rushed through the ending, as opposed to, with the Samoa Joe part, and they just got right to the ending part. But I just want before Steve, I know you got to jet. But what did you think? Just a quick, what did you think of the match?
I thought the match was great. I was hoping for something totally different with the finish. I was hoping that MLW, the Dynasty, was maybe going to be underneath of those masks. Maybe some Hammerstone and Richard Holiday, but maybe, I don't know. Maybe that's something that we'll get if MJF comes back. I don't know. But yeah, I wasn't surprised with who it was whatsoever. It worked. It was good.
Yeah, no, it's great. No, so let's see. So I know, Steve, you got to sign off.
I do.
But we are wrapping up, anyways, guys. But it was great to have you on the show, Steve, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, for sure. Take care, guys.
Take care.
Thanks,
And
Steve.
hey, so guys, if you're overall, I guess if you want to, how you would look at this, how you rate this as the final pay-per-view of 2023. Are you happy? Is this a nice finale to the year? Do you think it sets up some good storylines coming into 2024 that you're excited about, or are you leaving this a little more disappointed?
I'm actually excited for 2024. Like I said in the I jumped on the last like 30 minutes of the live reaction because a lot of people were disappointed, and I said, you just got to trust the system of creative. We've all seen speed bumps and bad endings and bad storytelling in professional wrestling, and people want to crucify it. But I'm very excited. Me, for once, Samoa Joe being AEW champion, I think it's great. I think there's nobody else that could be a champion, the world champion, than Samoa Joe. He deserves it because he's been in the industry, and what he did for AEW at all in, basically saving that match between him and Punk because Punk was about to walk out. And Joe was the one that stepped in and was like, no, we're doing the match. Whatever you want to do after the match, that's fine. But right now, we're going to put on a match because we are obligated. So I think that kind of put eyes on Samoa Joe backstage, and people saw him as someone that this guy can be a leader, and this guy's positive about it because he's been in this industry for a long time. Also, you got to think he's in Twisted Metal, and there's a season 2 renewed. Think about the press this guy goes to. Him carrying around the AEW World Championship at press conferences for season 2 of Twisted Metal. I mean, that's exposure for AEW right there. It's genius, But I'm still an MJF mark, and I still think he was a great promoter for AEW as well as champions. So when you go to MJF, who's just out there promoting it at junctions, to Samoa Joe, who's going to do the same thing and bigger stages, it just looks good for AEW. And so I'm very excited to see where everything goes for 2024. And again, I'm just going to put my faith in creative and just let it run its course.
Great. Siren, same questions for you. Ending out the year, what do you think going into the new year?
I'm super stoked. I can't wait. I feel like we're getting that like early AEW feel back, to me anyway, where I'm very excited about every single episode every single week. I watch all my, Rampage, Collision, Dynamite, and my ROH, and every episode feels like a pay-per-view to me. I get so excited. So yeah, 2024 is going to be really awesome, I feel. Just a quick little throwback. I feel like Wardlow lost his momentum when he was all by himself because he was a babyface and I didn't like it. But back to here. Overall, the pay-per-view, I want to rate it to me, aside from the whole ending of the MJF Samoa Joe match, I understand everything. I'm very excited for the build back up of MJF. I just did not like the ending. I want to give it an 8.8 overall for the pay-per-view. I loved it. I loved 0 Hour. I loved the whole thing. I loved the commentary. There was a lot that we didn't talk about in commentary that I do want to touch on at some point in the future. If you got let's do a best, things video from that. It was great. I don't know, but definitely solid commentary too. Everything about it was good.
Yeah, no, it's great. I would give this one. I mean, I thought it was a pretty enjoyable. There were some moments that I could fall asleep on, but there's other moments that I thought were fantastic. So I mean, I would give it a solid 7.5, maybe 8. It was good. I don't think it was, for me, it was an 8.5 or a 9. I think it had a few more stellar matches for me, but I thought overall, I think it was a decent, and I'm a big one for crowd. I'm a big one in terms of look and feel of it. I love the crowd participation. That for me really also rounds out a pay-per-view, because I love when, the more the crowd that's into it, you just feel it, right? And it just has the momentum. I love it. I thought 2023 was a great year for wrestling. What I'd like to see in 2024, and the thing that's just driving me crazier more than ever, is every time someone loses a match, someone's like, "Oh, they're on their way to WWE. They're leaving." Like, okay, can we, some of these things are worse now. Oh, he's not on the page. Oh my God, he's leaving. That's it. He's showing up in the Royal Rumble. Like, it just, people need to just calm down a bit. Like, every time I'm reading someone's on their way, it's like everybody's moving all the time, and nobody's thinking about contracts, and everyone's contract seems to be up all the time. So I really hope these things kind of just simmer down, and I just hope that AEW fans can just enjoy the product and enjoy what is, and just don't have to be bitter and angry and compare. Just enjoy it, And so I hope people just get back to basics, and and maybe I just need to stop reading some of these things on on social media, because it ruins it. I just don't know why people spend so much energy trying to be negative when just we've asked for these things. So just enjoy it, right? What's wrong with more wrestling and more competitive wrestling and more storytelling and more guys? So, that's what I'm hoping for 2024. I think AEW will be just fine. I think it'll be stable. I think we're going to see some good storylines, and, people are just going to calm down, and all these big stars will be here. And I think there'll be some good stars. I think there will be a few stars that will show up and join AEW. With all the rumors, some of them have to be true. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see. So I guess we're coming on just about an hour and 15 minutes, but I think it was a great show. We're going to wrap it up. I thought it was, overall, it was a great pay-per-view, good review, and you guys were great again. So Adam, always a pleasure, and Siren, always a pleasure as well. And can't wait to see you guys next week. Cheers, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Peace. Have a good week.